You're about to listen to a BBC podcast, and maybe it's one I had a hand in. I'm Tammy Walker, and I produce podcasts for the BBC. My role is to give new and diverse creators a voice with the opportunity to build a career. That's the thing I love about podcasts. You start with just a good idea, but then you have the space to see where it goes. And doing that at the BBC means we can really run with the best stories while developing the most unique audio talent. So if you like what you hear, why not check out the huge range of podcasts we've got on BBC Sounds?
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. As we record, the Scottish Premiership is paused for the winter break, so we're taking the opportunity to look back over the last 5 months or so and see how each club is doing. We're publishing mid-season report cards for all 12 top-flight teams that will tell you all you need to know about where they are and how they got there. And this episode is dedicated to the side currently sitting in third place, Hearts.
Lowry shapes a shot and scores! Alex Lowry for Hearts in stoppage time!
Forrest moving in field, goes for goal! Oh! Absolutely magnificent from Alan Forrest!
Swung to the back post, there's a header, and there's the goal from Lauren Shanklin at the back post!
This is the Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Joining me to chat all things Gorgie is editor of the Hearts Standard and a view from the Terrace panellist Joel Sked and former player, manager and current club ambassador Gary Locke. How are we, guys? We well?
Oh, good, Amy. Aye, yourself?
Not too bad, Gary. Nice to see you. Well, for the viewers at home, the listeners at home, my camera's not on right now, so it's actually a fantastic podcast for all involved. Joel, you'll be delighted not to see my face.
Yeah, see it enough. That's good. Nice wee break.
Enough of that. Plenty to get through with Joel and Gary, but first let's remind ourselves of Hearts' season so far.
Boyce is clean through. There's one-on-one with the keeper. He squares it. Shanklin, surely! 2-0 to Hearts.
Devlin again into the box. Goal! Gabby Devlin! And Tynecastle is losing its mind! Right-hand side, Dixie touch and scores! Fantastic goal by Scott Wright!
Duke's away, it's got to be! It is!
We came under a bit of pressure. Aberdeen put us under, and to be honest I felt we crumbled a wee bit, so we were disappointed after that, and I kind of had a few still words with the boys, and we had a few still words as a team together.
Kingsley curls it to the bottom corner. It's a peach from Stephen Kingsley, and Hearts have got a second goal at Celtic Park.
We were close at Ibrox, we were close at Tynecastle against Rangers earlier in the season, and today we get the result I think we deserve.
Bashiri's lost up the other end here. Shanklin's in, scores! And sends the maroon and white half of Edinburgh into ecstasy!
I said I just need one chance, and thankfully enough I backed it up. So
Football is football. You can never guarantee anything, but we'll see how that plays out. What we can do at the moment is enjoy Lawrence and enjoy him for as long as you see him.
Oh, a goal, lads! 6 in a row for the main man! What a finish!
I think it's a well-earned rest, especially this last month, so we've given them a good bit of time to rest up. We'll have a short period of hard work when we come back, and then we're straight back in the thick of it with 3 games in a week.
Some of the key points there, and to quickly summarise Hearts' season up to this point, Stephen Naismith's side currently third in the league with 36 points from 11 wins, 3 draws and 7 defeats. They started the season with a 2-0 win over St Johnstone in Perth. That was followed up with a memorable 4-3 aggregate victory over Rosenborg in the Europa Conference League, but they did cash out of Europe in the next round with a 6-1 aggregate defeat to Greek side PAOK. A good run in the League Cup came to an end when they lost to Rangers 3-1 at Hampden in the semi-final, but they ended the season with 5 games undefeated in the league, and that included, of course, a 2-0 win over Celtic and a 1-0 win over Hibs at Easter Road in the Edinburgh Derby. Jam-packed to say the least. Joel, we'll start with yourself. If it can be done, how would you sum up the season so far?
I think so. Stephen Naismith after the Livingston win said it was really good, and I think that's an overall picture because you look at the league table, sitting third quite comfortably ahead of Kilmarnock, and then Hibs and Aberdeen are much further back as well. So Yeah, really good, but I think there's been a lot more to it. It's been a bit more up and down, or eventful. Eventful is probably the right word for it. But I think Hearts are in the... When you go into the winter break after 21 games with a 5-point lead in third place, then it can only be a really good season so far.
Joel opts for eventful. Gary, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think I probably agree with that. I think at the start of the season, and like most Scottish clubs in Europe, we seem to struggle when we're playing a Thursday, Sunday. Your squad gets tested, and we feel as if we've got a strong enough squad, but we ended up picking up a lot of injuries, which didn't help the cause. I think the team was quite unbalanced with the amount of players that we had missing, but I think you can see over the last maybe 4 or 5 weeks that we've got a lot of influential players back in the squad. I think we've got a settled formation. Most of the lads are back fit now. I think you can see the fruits of that with the results and the way we're playing. So if you were to tell me, the start of the season, we'll get to the winter break, we'll be third, we'll be 5 points ahead with a game in hand, I think any Hearts fan on the planet would have taken that.
We ran through some of them there, Joel. Let's not look about the lowlights. What about the highlights? Give me your highlight of the first 6 months. Naturally,
we're going to go to Celtic Parks, because won there for the first time in what felt like 300 years with the 2-0 win, and then you've got the Rosenborg win at Tynecastle to overcome. I think that was one of the best nights at Tynecastle for a generation of fans, because a lot of fans grew up hearing about Tynecastle nights, European nights, Lokomotiv Leipzig, Bayern Munich, and then there'll be a generation of fans who've never really experienced that, because obviously we had games at Murrayfield as well where we beat Braga. It was the first time that I think that Tynecastle was properly rocking in a good few years at Tynecastle on European night. But the highlight of the season so far, anytime you beat Hibs last minute at Easter Road, it's got to be Lawrence Shanklin's goal. To beat them lot.
Plenty more about Hibs and Lawrence Shanklin to come, no doubt. Let's talk other personnel though, and you sort of touched on it there, guys, but despite what looks on paper like a fairly good season so far, Stephen Naismith's been under a little bit of pressure at times. Perhaps it decreased slightly just before the break with those wins over Celtic and Hibs. Gary, can you understand why perhaps maybe 6-7 weeks ago Stephen Naismith was under that little bit of pressure, especially from the stands?
When you're at a big club, I've experienced it myself. It's not an easy job nowadays, management, because there's so many experts out there. There's so many people that can do the job better than the guy in the dugout. And for me, I think Stephen's handled himself really well. I think even in the difficult times that we had, for me, he handled it really well. He was getting a bit of criticism, but I don't think there's a Premier League manager this season that's not had a bit of criticism at some point this year. But he's just got his head down with the rest of the backroom staff. As I touched on earlier on, I think the amount of games that we had earlier on in the season, I think that the amount of injuries we had, and people will say, that's just an excuse, but it's a fact. When you lose the quality players that we lost earlier in the season, and obviously Shanks as well at the start of the season, because he never had a break in the summer, he didn't really hit the ground running at the start of the season. We managed to get a wee break where he wasn't in the Scotland squad. He got a wee holiday with his family, and we've never looked back since he came back sort of fresh. So he was under a wee bit of pressure, but I don't think from within the club he was under too much pressure. Obviously, at a club like Hearts, we need to get results. He's managed to go and do that, and I think, now, for me, it's a case of everybody at the club get behind the manager, get behind the team, and if we do that, we'll be quite a formidable football club second half of the season.
Joel, how do you think he's handled that transition that was much made about at the time? We don't need to totally go over it again, but, not being in the head coach, so to speak, in the dugouts. We were speaking about obviously those Rosenborg results. That was under Frankie McAvoy, but Stephen Naismith, of course, still played such a huge part in that. But how do you think that he's coped in the job that he's done so far?
Exactly what Gary said. He's handled it so well. I think he's brought a real assuredness to the role. He's so no matter when you speak to him after defeat, after a draw, after a win, he is very level-headed. He's calm. Gary says everyone's got their opinion on managers now, no matter who you are. It's like, he can do the job better. And it makes everything so short-term. Everyone wants the results yesterday, whereas Naismith's looking, everything he's kind of talking about is kind of long term. He's got a view on how to bring through young players. He's got a view on how the recruitment should work, how the squad building works. His view is longer term. He's never really got bogged down in the pressure. He's never really got bogged down in the noise. He's been kind of just level-headed and calm and composed all the way through. And I think that's kind of translated onto the pitch with the players as well. When you just slowly but surely, there's just been progress. It's not been perfect, absolutely not. I think there was a lot of struggles to begin with, but you look over the last 11 league games, 8 wins. It's been a fruit of his patience of what he's wanted to do, and I think he's handled it really, really well.
Fear not, I will give you both an opportunity to wax lyrical more about Lawrence Shankland, but this is a Hearts podcast in general, not just a Lawrence Shankland love-in. So other than the main man, and rightly so, he grabs all the headlines week in, week out. Gary, who else has been a sort of standout performer? Who's impressed you in the first half of the season?
I think Frankie Ked's been a tremendous signing for us. I think he's brought a calmness to the back three, the back four, whatever it is we play. I think huge credit's got to go to Kai Rowles as well. He had like every player at Hearts, we never had the greatest starts, but since we've went to a kind of back three, he's been absolutely outstanding as well. So it's difficult just to pick out one or two individuals, because for me, when you play, you win and lose as a team. But the fact that obviously Shanks is doing really, really well, the fact that we did pretty well recently in terms of clean sheets as well. And I think Xander Clark needs to get a special mention as well, because he's keeping out, for me, the best goalkeeper in Britain in Craig Gordon. And the fact that Big Craig's not managed to get himself back in the team yet speaks volumes of how well Xander's playing. So, there's a lot of competition for places. I'm hopeful that we'll maybe sign a couple of players in the January window. And if we do that, I think we'll be in a really good place come the start of the second half of the season.
Joel, I know you've done all right with some goalkeeper gloves on before. Do you want to have a wee comment on Xander Clark?
He's been undroppable with the performances he's had, which says a lot when, like Gary says, you've got one of the best goalkeepers in Britain right behind him. And again, it goes to kind of Stephen Naismith that the easiest decision would have been to take Clark out after the Aberdeen loss to the Rangers loss and put Gordon in. But he's stuck with him. He believes he's the number one goalkeeper at the moment, and Naismith's kind of put his trust in Clark, and Clark's he's responded. Clark's not the perfect goalkeeper, but he's one of the best performing in the league. He's one of the best in the league at the moment, and he's shot stopping. You can't criticise it. He's very, very good at keeping the ball out of the net, as you've seen with Hearts' defensive record.
From one end of the pitch to another, Xander Clark will be most glad, one would imagine, that he's not having to come up against Lawrence Shankland. Gary, can you just try and describe how important he is to Hearts? Have you ever seen a Hearts player mean so much, one player means so much to a team?
Yeah, I've seen a couple, John Robertson and Rudy Scatcho, they both spring to mind, to be fair, but Shanks is in that bracket. He's I think since he's been given the captaincy as well, he's really taken his game to a different level altogether. And the biggest compliment you can pay him is that he scores every type of goal, headers, left foot, right foot, and he scores against everybody. It's not like he's just scoring against teams that are at the lower end of the league. He's scored against both Old Firm teams, and I'm delighted to see him playing so well. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation regarding him at the moment, but he's got a year and a half left, and I'd love to see him sign an extended contract with Hearts. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. But if he keeps playing the way he's playing, then, hopefully seeing him finish the season as top goal scorer, and obviously hopefully get into the Scotland squad, because I think that is the biggest incentive for Shankland at the moment, is to obviously play well with Hearts and make sure he gets on that flight to the Euros.
Gary mentions it there, Joe. There's obviously going to be an awful lot of speculation when a guy is as in form as Lawrence Shankland is. I hate to bring some doom and gloom into your life, but how would you cope if he was to leave?
Not very well. I think I would take it very badly. It would be like Gary compared him to Robbo and Rudy Scatcho, and he's got that personality where he's on the pitch and you just know, no matter how Hearts are playing, as long as keeping clean sheets, he's going to win a game for you. And you just have to look at the stats to see how important he has been to the team in terms of match-winning goals, the number of goals he's scored, how many points his goals have been worth. Of course, you'd have to replace him, which is even more difficult. And you'd hope that Naismith talked about when he was at Killie and they sold Chris Boyd, and kind of him and Colin Nish stepped up. But I'm not going to lie, you don't want to take that risk. And I think it would be heartbreaking for a number of Hearts fans, well, every Hearts fan, if he was to depart, especially this month, because I think he's going to be the difference between Hearts getting into Europe through third place and potentially European group stages and not.
Finally, then, let's look ahead. Joel, you just mentioned there about the potential of having to replace Lawrence Shankland if he does leave, how Hearts would do that. Elsewhere, where do you think the club need to strengthen in this January transfer window? It is now open.
The club have been quite public with their desire to get a right back. Elsewhere, I think that there's always a desire from Hearts fans to see Colin Cameron or Paul Hartley type in midfield, who can burst forward, score goals, and then maybe a wee bit more pace in the team. So they're kind of like the three areas that I would potentially target.
Can you disagree there, Gary?
No, I think it's well documented that we're looking for somebody to play kind of right back, right wing back, because Natty Atkinson's obviously away with Australia at the moment, but we've not really got a lot of cover in that area. But I think the pleasing thing from my point of view is it's the first time in a long time we've seen a couple of young lads, start to push for a place in the team. So great to see Aidan Denham making a few starts. We've now got Macaulay Tate, who, I know that the club and the management team rate very highly, who's pushing himself, come on at Parkhead. So if you can come on at Parkhead, you can come on anywhere for me. So I don't think we need to strengthen too many areas. I think the squad's very strong. And the fact that we've got a couple of young lads pushing for the first time in a long time, I think there's a lot of positives to take. And as I say, I've no doubt that Stephen and Joe Savage will be sitting right now and they'll be looking at players that are available. It is a hard market in January, but if we can get a couple of players in to strengthen the team, then I think we'll all be delighted.
That is a real positive, Joel, isn't it? Gary touches on it there, and it's a great point. But due to Stephen Naismith's pass with the B team, seeing these young guys coming through, because every fan wants to see one of their own boys come through the ranks, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something that the Hearts have not done consistently the last few years, and it was one of the big reasons that Naismith was given the job, because of that connection with the academy. And the thing is he's not just wanting to give the young players just like put them in the first team just to say, I've put them in the first team. They have to have earned it, and it has to be right to put them in there. But he's wanting to create that pathway. I think he wants to get the size of the squad. He wants to kind of get it lower, so there is a better pathway there. So there's more scope for them to be on the bench and to contribute. And look at Aidan Denham. He's been given a platform, and he's really taken it, and the Hearts fans kind of look at him and it kind of resonates with him because he is a Hearts fan, and the way he goes about his business on the pitch, the way he gets about the pitch, I think that's kind of epitomises how Hearts fans would think that they would do so at Tynecastle.
Yeah, I think every Hearts fan enjoyed these post-match celebrations with Xander Clark a few days ago. Gary, given what you've seen so far this season then, what are the expectations for the rest of it? It surely has to be consolidating third, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. When you're in a club the size of Hearts, I think that's the least the fans expect, is third or fourth place in the league, and obviously to try and win a trophy. That's going to be the aim every season. So we've got a tough fixture in the Scottish Cup when we start back in Edinburgh Derby, but we're all looking forward to that. So I think if we can have a really good cup run, consolidate third place, I think everybody will be over the moon.
Two local lads, yourselves guys, that is going to be a cracking tie, particularly for Spartans, isn't it? It's certainly the pick of the bunch when the draw was made. But Gary, I know you like a wee dalliance in the lower leagues. It was a dream for a lot of folk.
100%. I think as well, Spartans, they'll have a few Hearts fans that play for them as well. They'll be looking to impress. It's live on TV, so it's a fantastic stage and a great day for teams in the lower league, and we've got to make sure we're professional, because you've seen the upsets last year, and we certainly didn't want to be on the end of any of them. So we've got to go there, be professional. It'll be a tough game. We've been on an Astro Turf as well, but I'm pretty positive that if we can go there and turn up, we should hopefully get through to the next round.
Don't want to end on any sort of doom and gloom, Joel. What would constitute a successful season in your eyes?
Third place, I think, would be a successful season. Third place and a Scottish Cup would be an incredible season. So I think you look at the fixture list when you come back. So you got the Spartans game, which is one everyone should be looking forward to, and then it's quite a good fixture list. You've got home to Dundee, home at Aberdeen, away to Dundee, Motherwell up before they play any of the Old Firm. So there's a really good chance to, if you hit the ground running a game, to really put some distance between ourselves and the rest of the league, and really consolidate and ensure that what happened last season doesn't happen again this season. And yeah, a Scottish Cup wouldn't have gone amiss.
Well, Joel Sked, Gary Locke, thank you both very much for joining us on the Scottish Football Podcast's mid-season Hearts report card. Thank you for listening, and remember, we'll have a special episode on every Premiership club throughout the winter break, so make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss out. Until tomorrow, bye-bye for now.
Hi, it's Amy Irons here. I just wanted to tell you that Sacked in the Morning is back for a new series. We are your survival guide to football management. If you want to hear exactly what goes on in the dugouts and dressing rooms across the world, then we are the pod for you. And as ever, I'll be joined by former Scotland gaffer Craig Levine and some of football's best managers to provide all the insight you could possibly need. And you can find it on BBC Sounds. Just search for Sacked in the Morning.